All right. Well, welcome back, Jorge Perez. I appreciate you coming. I love our conversations, and it's just so awesome to talk to you. And I appreciate you coming back to playing it safe. And I really wanted to talk about destiny. Like we've had conversations about somebody's destiny, and why do I even bring up this topic? Is so often people say they could not go for a goal or they had aspirations but it got stopped and people blame it on their destiny. It was destined to happen. And the common thing I hear all the time is everything happens for a reason.
Right.
And that gets me so upset. It
Yeah.
gets me angry because people really use that as an excuse like, well,
Right.
it didn't work out. And so my belief is, because also another saying is when one door closes, another one will open or go find, go
Right.
that way. And I'm like, no, I want that closed door. I will learn to pick the lock.
Yeah.
That's
That's right.
my theory. So give me a little bit of thoughts about, destiny. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you for inviting me back. I'm really, really happy to talk with you. I really enjoy our conversations. Yeah. So I used to think very much like that when I was younger. I used to think everything happens for a reason. You know, I grew up Catholic, so I was God's way. There's time and for everything. Um, and I think the reason why that's so appealing, it's because it's very comfortable. Everything,
Mm-hmm.
everything's outside our control. It's this very kind of comfort zone. Well, you know, um, I read a book about 8 months ago, um, when good things happen to bad people, and that's a really good book. And that book addresses that question in particular, right? Um, After reading that book, I think there was like a paradigm shift, and I don't. I do think things happen, but I think it's up to us to give it that meaning, right? So we go through life, we go through this path, we see these doors, we see these roads, these forks on the roads, um, but it's up to us to say, this is the road I'm gonna take, right? Um, Saying things like, well, it wasn't meant to be. I think it's a way of saying, um, I think it's a way of putting the responsibility somewhere else, right? A lot of people wait for things to happen or wait to be motivated. Um, and I think that's looking on the outside, right? I think that it is far more difficult, but in the long run, far more productive to look in the inside and say what's happening, right? What can I do right now to get to where I want to be? Okay, so the door is closed. Okay, what can I do right now to get over that door or through that hurdle, right? Instead of saying, okay, well the door is closed, it wasn't meant to be. I'm gonna move on to something else, right? Um, and I honestly think it's a trap, and it's a trap of comfort that we set up for ourselves.
Definitely, because I know we both experience with, at least in students, we get that, I have to work, I have to do this. This occurred in my family. Someone fell deathly ill. I can no longer attend. I don't have time for studies, and I first want to say that everything you're experience, that people experience, it's a real thing. It's not something that we're trying to
Right.
dismiss or not give you comfort during those moments. However, and I don't know how you feel. It's very hard for me to sympathize because, in my pursuit for goals and even till now, I can't name the number of times that I've had extreme destruction and disappointment and so many bad things happen in my life, right? I mean, it's a laundry list of things. But in those moments, yes, I felt the maybe it would make me cry, and I've maybe trapped myself in a room for
Mhm.
the day.
Right.
But I still had to wake up and continue on because I could not. And even though if I let's say if you are someone trying to pursue something and an obstacle comes up, what do you do? How do you move forward, right? And I guess it's just changing that mentality that it's not your destiny to not be successful.
Right. Right. I think our minds are very powerful, right? And I think when we convince ourselves this is not for me, right, or this was not meant to be, our minds will go with it and it'll say, okay, perfect, it's not for you, done. I'll make everything possible so that you feel that way, right? Our ego will protect us from that, right? The past 8 months or so, I've been going through some difficult times, and I've learned a lot about that pain, right? And at first, I remember um, kind of having this mentality of why did this happen? Why is this happening, right? Why did God allow this, or why did destiny or life allow this to happen,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I think you grow from those moments. And I think one of the most important things, at least for me, is instead of, making the pain make me feel like a victim. And this might sound a little weird, but I will welcome the pain. And I will say,
Mm-hmm.
this is now part of me, right? This pain that I'm feeling, it's a reminder that I'm a human being, that I get down, right? And it's going to be my companion. It's going to be my companion to the top of the mountain, right? It's now me and the pain and the suffering and the sadness. We're all going together because this is all me, right? Um, you can also take in the other route. Oh, I'm going through such a difficult time. I'm giving up on things for now, for a little bit, right? Whatever path you choose, and that's the important thing, right? That's the antithesis of this is not for me. It was not, God didn't want it this way. Whatever path you choose, as long as you tell your mind about it, you will get there. If you tell yourself this is not for me because I'm going through so much pain, you don't understand my pain, right? It's just so hard. Cool, then it's not for you, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to be for you at all, right? I remember sharing with a friend. Um, there's many ways we can sabotage ourselves, by the way. I remember sharing with my friend about 4 months ago some of the things I was going through, some of the pain I was going through, and it came from a good place, I'm sure. But she mentioned, well, you can always just take pills. You can antidepressants and things like that. Um, I was always against. I'm not a doctor, obviously. I'm not going to tell somebody not to take pills or something, but I think there is a beauty and there is a strength on whatever you're going through. Face it head on, right? It doesn't matter what it is. You lost somebody, you broke up with somebody, you got fired. It doesn't matter. Face it head on and learn from it, because everything will teach you a lesson if you want it. Or you can say, well, it wasn't meant to be, so it's all good. I'll just do something else.
Yeah, and I think so often people have this mentality, and I mean, even trying to get to where I was going at, we in college, my financial aid, just one day the office called us and they told us that I owe $7,500
Mhm.
before I can come back. And this was 2 days before the semester ended,
Oh
and
wow!
then we were going to come back after Christmas break. So my mother, being a very strong Latina woman, drove out to the school, which was a little over 2 hours away. And she came in and she was like, I would have never sent my daughter here if you were going to take this money away. And that day I moved out of campus. Like there was no saying goodbye to my friends. It was like, nope, you're moving off campus. But it wasn't that I was not going to return back to school.
Right.
It was just like, I'm sorry, Mija, we can't afford this. Okay, so you're gonna have to, go live. I had to go move with my brother who lived near the college, and when I say go live with them, I had to, we had to like share a bed for a while, and then
Right.
I like slept on the floor in the living room, and very fun times. We struggled hardcore
Right.
together, and it was just like, okay, now what do I do to get that money
Right.
to start again? And $7,500, by the way, even today, now that I make good money, that's still a lot of money.
Right.
But back in the day when I'm holding 3 part-time jobs and could really survive, how does that come about, right? And it's
Right.
just trying to think of how do you overcome these things. And it was devastating to me because I'm like, come on, I can't catch a break. And even to this day, I think I still could run into that mentality that I
Yeah.
cannot catch a break. And people are like, what do you mean? You're like super successful. I'm like, no, you don't
Right.
understand. Right. But do we mope in that, or do we, do we continue on with it? And one thing you did mention was not that you like the pain, but you kind of welcome it.
Yeah.
So many of you may who know me, and those of you that don't know me. So a little over 3 years ago, I gave birth to my twins. I have a son and a daughter. Well, I have 4 kids total, but they're the youngest. And when I was pregnant with them, life was I was rocking. I'm a career woman. I'm gone all the time. My husband's at home taking care of the kids. I'm just living it up. And when I gave birth to them, 5 days after they were born 2 months early, so we had to be in the NICU. 5 days after they were born,
Mm-hmm.
I was informed that my son had a heart condition. He had a heart defect. And within an hour, they had transported my son to another hospital a little over an hour away, while my other daughter is still in the NICU. They wouldn't take her with him. And from that moment, my life was defined forever in hospitals.
Right.
And um, not that any parent going through this would ever want that for their family. And trust me, if I can change places with him, I would, right? If I can do anything or pay anyone to change this circumstance, I would. And I cried and I cried, and I talked to my brother, because my brother helps me get out of my funk, right? We all need somebody, by the way. So everyone needs at least a person to talk to. And if you don't have someone, message us. We'll talk to you, okay? But he told me, all right, cry, sis, but get your mom pants back on. You can't let your kids see you this way. And what I took from the beauty of this was it made me realize that everything I thought that was super important, as
Right.
far as like I was only focused on my career. Not that that's not important, but it kind of went ahead of my family, and it made me really enjoy the small things in
Yeah.
life. I think too many times we focus on, well, I need a house. And at that time, I didn't own a home. I just need to purchase a home. I need to get that vacation. I need the nice car. I want this. Well, we keep saying need, but it's really a want, right?
Right.
And because of this experience, I also make sure we've been get criticized a lot. We also make sure that that condition, because my son has had open heart surgery. Great, it's a lot of things, but he's doing great. So I say he's a healthy boy that needs a tune up every so often. But because we don't let him know that he has a disability, or we don't let the kids talk about it
Mm-hmm.
in a way that it's a bad thing, we we don't want that to be his destiny,
Right.
as far as limiting him as well. And I think I see that a lot of times, as people are like, well, I've been told I was not smart, or I'm dyslexic, and so therefore I can't be that successful, or I
Right.
can't pursue that stuff. But it's like, no, you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Frustrating.
That's right. Yeah. And if you go to the examples, right, that you just gave, all of that comes from the outside, right? All of that comes from listening to others, right? If we go back to the great story you shared about you, right? There's this moment that we reach when we are going through a difficult time. There's bottom, right?
Hmm.
There's this, I think in Star Wars it's like the cave, the dark side, right? Like you get there and you have a choice, right? You have a choice to stay there, right? Or you have the choice to learn and you come out of it stronger, right? Um, I see you now, and I didn't know you before, but I guarantee I can, I can say that you came out of that stronger person, right? We didn't know each other at the time, but I'm willing to bet that that's the case. That you learn so much about you, about the way the world works, right? Like you're saying, like you're focused now on the small things, right? But even in science, right, everything's made out of small things. Everything's made out of atoms. And it's the small things that make up the big things, right?
Hmm.
And it's it's moments like that that reminds us this is who we are, right? And then all of those moments, I think, are choices. All of those other moments are decisions for us about believing in ourselves, right? Are we going to listen to us and our inner voice, or are we going to numb it with pills or with, social media or, the TV, Netflix? Because it's really easy to do all of that, right? It's really easy to say, I'm just going to do this instead, right? I'm not going to listen to myself, right?
Yeah, and I think too, many people who are listening right now, their lives have been destroyed, right? I mean, is it destiny or that the world is falling apart right now? We have this pandemic that I never thought I would experience in my lifetime. And, I'm actually really thankful my kids are still young, that even though they're doing school online and it sucks for them, I'm glad that they're not seeing how ugly the world is, and um, we see people that have lost all their things, and they're moping, or they are hoping for the world to open again so they can go back into their comfortable
Right.
positions. And many people don't want to just go out there and just take whatever
Yeah.
job they can get right now. And
Yeah.
I'm not shaming people
Right.
for
Right.
that, but when things get really bad, it's not okay, but it's a good thing to learn from it,
Yeah.
right? Yes, this you were doing well, and that sucks.
Yeah.
But what are you going to take from it to use this experience? And do we just mope and watch Netflix like you mentioned, or do we finally pick ourselves up and say, okay, today is a good day. I still, have my health,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, still breathing.
Yeah. I think one mistake, at least I'll speak for me, but I have a feeling some people do this too, is we think of happiness as this state, right? Like,
Mm.
oh, we can achieve that, right? Um, I remember when I was offered my full-time job as a professor, right after shaking the dean's hand, and this is a job that I've been wanting since I was a student, because I'm a student I'm a teacher at the same place where I was a student, the same
Mhm.
community college. So since I transferred, I wanted to work there. And as soon as I shook the dean's hand, I sat down and this depression just came over me, right?
Same.
And it was like, well, I achieved that thing that I told myself it was going to be the highest point of my life. And I have literally no idea what I'm going to do. And I was very depressed, right?
Mhm.
I think one thing I've learned the past 3 months is happiness and the state of mind that you want, it's everyday work. It's not a state that you can ride. Yeah, there will be times where cool things are happening, but it's an everyday thing. You wake up every day and you make the decision to be happy. Whether you have a job or not, right? Whether things are going well or not, you decide. If you want to decide that things are bad, that's your decision too, right? And I know it's hard to hear, especially going through some difficult times. Oh, but you don't know, but you don't know what you're talking about. You may have a stable job. This time right now, it's a very special time, actually. It's a time for us to reflect and
Mhm.
to see ourselves as human beings and how interconnected we are, right? It's a time to read. It's a time to find ourselves, right? We might never have another time like this. This is kind of unique,
Yeah.
right? And it can be a time for reflection, or it can be a time to complain, and a time to say, man, things are really, such and such group did this to this other group. It's about how you see things, and it's about the meaning that you give to the choices and the things that happen, I think.
Yeah, and I mean that's so powerful. I'm looking at a quote right here from the book you mentioned, when good things happen to bad people.
When bad things happen.
When bad things, sorry, when bad things happen to good people, the same, right? No, and so because good things do happen to bad
they,
people
they
sometimes, and
certainly do.
damn it, that pisses me off. And they usually live longer. But anyways, that's a different topic. It mentions it is the result, not the cause, of pain that makes some experiences of pain meaningful and others empty and destructive.
That's right.
And it's so powerful, as you mentioned, the state of happiness, because I too went through a depression when I got my permanent position that people dream about, apparently, and people are just like, that's like, you made it.
Right.
And I was super depressed as well, and that's very interesting to learn that about you, because I literally went through like a midlife
Yeah.
crisis, and I was just 30 years old at that
Yeah.
moment. And I'm like,
Same.
how do I feel that moment, like a midlife crisis at that moment? And it was because you're exactly right. I got it, and you think all the time. You think if I get to this, if
Right.
I get to this, I will be happy.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. When I was making, minimum wage, I'm like, if I make $50,000 a year,
Right. That's it.
that's it. I
Right.
made it.
When we're kids, like,
Yeah,
man, if I had $100,
yeah.
if I only had $100, man, I'll be
And every time you get to that
right.
success or whatever you're trying to do, it honestly doesn't make you happy.
No, and I think it's because we're looking in the wrong place, right? I think at this point, I think if somebody came and took away my house and I took away my job and my car, everything, cool. I'll start from scratch, right? It is understanding that everything I need to be happy, it's right here. It's in me, right? My mind, my heart, who I am, right? Whether to some people that's a lot or not, it's, cool. I'll decide that, right? And I think that point, to get to that point, it's very important, right? The money will come and go. Relationships will come and go. Jobs will come and go. And that's very true. It's like the ocean, right? They ebb and flow, right? It is you, though. It is you, the one that's constantly making these decisions and saying, this is how this is going to affect me. And like the quote you were saying, right? It's what you do with the pain, what you do with the difficult times, and even with the good times, right? It's what you do with that that's going to matter, right? That's what's going to define your character, right? Everybody can be cool when things are great. Yeah, everybody can be real cool, right? It is when things are bad that you get to see who the people really are. Right?
Yeah.
And that I think part of that is there's a tendency to avoid kind of our dark side, right? I think Carl Jung calls it like the shadow. Like we all have like the yin and the yang. Like we have the light side and the dark side. The dark side of us can be very powerful, right? And by dark I mean our fears, the things that we don't want to see, what we're fearful of. But we usually don't reach that point until bad things are happening, right? Until bad things are happening to us. And so to be in tune with that is to essentially bring balance to ourselves, right? We usually live a life where all these distractions, the Netflix and the social media, they say, don't pay attention to this. This is really where it's at, up here, right? It's not. I mean, it's cool stuff to have, right? But if you want the answer to your life, you're gonna have to look at yourself. That's what I think.
And it's so true, because a lot of times people compare themselves, right? And I teach a critical thinking class, and we start off by what does this picture look like? And it's zoomed in, and people are giving all their perspectives, right? And it brings in that only normal people are those that you don't know very well, right? People from a distance look normal. And what do we mean by that? Is that a lot of times we might see celebrities or people with the big houses, and they're out on a boat and they own all this stuff, and it just seems like they got it, like they got the magic stuff. But if we really look at it, there's a lot of suicides within celebrities, and it's like, why did they pass? Like, I even had to ask myself when Anthony Bourdain passed and took his life.
Right.
This dude was living it up, right? He's traveling, gets to explore the world, does my favorite thing, eat, right? He's eating and drinking and just live. I mean, that sounds like the life.
Yeah.
But I always remind people that regardless of your celebrity, regardless of how much money you have, everybody's the same. And I mean that we're all just people with the same kind of emotions, the same kind of feelings. So your success of money, if you call it, and success is not money, by the way. Success is how you define it. That doesn't shelter you from, these emotions.
Right.
It doesn't block that. And you make such a good point that every day we have to face that decision, and everything can be going well, and all of a sudden just start feeling sad for
Yeah.
no reason,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know? So, I think that's so cool that we talk about this kind of stuff, especially when we're talking about playing it safe. People use the excuse of, well, this happened. I just can't.
Right.
I can't right now, or I guess this was the way it was supposed to be,
Right.
and we don't want you guys to do that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's important to listen to yourself, right? And there's definitely value on that. But to let circumstances define who you are, I think that's where you need to start drawing a line and say, I'm going through this. Am I gonna let it define me? And I think that's a powerful and scary choice to have.
So for anyone listening, and they're struggling, or they're feeling stuck, or you just don't know what to do, there's plenty of help, by the way. Some people have gone to really dark places, and we definitely will be posting up some help out there if you needed to talk to somebody. But for those of you that are always constantly battling with, I guess this is the way life is supposed to
Mm-hmm.
be. Maybe some people had kids really young, and also they're like, well, now I'm a parent and I can
Right.
only focus on this. Don't let that define you. Not that being a parent or having that responsibility is not important. And I'm not telling anyone to run away, okay?
Yeah.
But know that you have to be you and happy first
Yeah.
before you can be that person, that, mother or father, for your children.
Yeah.
And you can do it at the same time.
Yeah. I think one thing that can happen is this idea of, well, I'm a parent now, so I can't do that. I think that mentality um, will it will come out, right? And you know, kids are pretty quick at picking things up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you either have the choice to say, uh, I can't do this because of my kids, or you have the choice to say, I'm going to do this for my kids and for myself, right? There's a very fine line between those two, right? And yeah, every opportunity, every instance is an opportunity. You're talking about people going to dark places. I was just listening to the story of Tyson Fury, who's one of the heavyweight champions right now, and he won the title of heavyweight in 2015. And just like we were talking about getting depressed, right after he got off the ring, he went into deep depression. He lost the title. It took him about 2.5 years to realize, man, I'm in a very dark place, and his story is very inspirational, right? So there's a lot of places on YouTube and different places where you can find his story, but his story is one of triumph, of self triumph, and he's one of the people that I saw that he said, even after I retire, every day I'm gonna train, because every day I want to be happy, and this is what makes me happy, and it doesn't matter. Like, I'm just gonna train and train and train, even after I retire, because this is how I find my happiness. I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he pretty much says something like that. And so that's, I think, an inspiring story, a very moving story. But each one of us has that. Each one of us has that story, right?
Yes, everyone does have their story, and we are not stopped based on, our gender, our nationality. We all experience that. So we definitely want people to know that you're not alone. Everyone feels this, man.
Yeah,
I smile in front of everyone. I'm always laughing, but, doesn't mean that I don't go into dark places
right.
myself and always constantly have to talk myself out of it. So, whatever it takes, if it takes for you to, shower, if it takes you to go out for a walk, if it takes you just to, get some air, like open your windows, something, just know that there is so much out there. And plus, we have time.
Yeah,
I think a lot of people feel that they're not at this moment at right now,
right.
and we have plenty of
Yeah,
time. you
that's
know
That's the other thing. People say, well, I just can't find my motivation, right? Um, well, just do it, right? Oftentimes, if you wait for that motivation to happen, it's never going to get there, right? Um, Oftentimes, you have to push yourself, and then the motivation comes afterwards, right? Which is counterintuitive, but that's how it happens, right? We can do anything to start changing our life. Start eating healthy. That's one great thing, right? It takes
Hmm.
no time. You just make different decisions that right there. And the cool thing is, one good habit leads to another good habit, right? One positive thought leads to another positive thought, right? And it's like a chain, and backwards too. One bad thought leads to another bad thought, right? One negative habit will lead you to another negative habit. Okay, I didn't wake up early today to go for a run. Okay, well, good luck tomorrow, right? It's gonna be a little harder now tomorrow to go,
I'll
right?
start Monday.
Yeah, I'll start Monday, right? I'm gonna not eat so healthy today, and okay, well, tomorrow it's gonna be a little bit harder, right? It's like sand, right? Grains of sand, right? So every day, the little things that you were talking about, those are super important,
Yeah,
right? Every day.
definitely is. And make sure if you're listening and you just need to someone to talk to, because again, some of you don't feel that you have that open door, please feel free to email us at playingitsafe000 at gmail.com, or hit us up on any of our social medias, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook. But know that your destiny is what you create. Know that you have the potential to be anything, and your happiness is defined on how you make it for that day. Your success is how you feel at that moment. Stop letting these barriers define who you are, and stop letting titles of responsibilities define who you are as well. So start working on that. That's what we're trying to get you to do today. So I appreciate you being here, man.
Oh,
I love our
thanks. Thank
conversations.
you. Anytime. It's
I'm
pretty
just
great.
always trying to get it out there,
Yeah.
Come on. Shake people. You guys can do it.
Yeah, thank you. I think this is great. This is a great platform, right? I think a lot of times we just need that one conversation to hear that one thing, right, from that one person that we might not even know. So I appreciate you having giving this opportunity and putting this out there in the world.
Well, thank you. And know again, you guys are not alone. All right. We're here. Have a good one, y'all.
All right. Thank you.